you know, everyone nowadays has an idea to do something and they just need a developer, they say. So I'm Michael Bouwer. I am a senior software developer, Mr. Price. I specialize on the front end for e-commerce websites. Yeah, and I think this current role was just there at the right time for me. Yeah, I was quite fortunate. It was just there, and I thought, hey, that's exactly the stack that I've been looking at. And then, yeah, they were
created the profile at Mr. Price.
Only after they had approached me. So
How?
The recruiter at the time, Sam, she reached out on LinkedIn, and she said, you know, would you like to, you know, your profile fits what we're looking for. Would you like to apply? And then I said yeah, and then I went and created my profile on the system and did the whole process. And it was, yeah, lucky for me, it went well.
Wow.
It's definitely beneficial, but you don't need to. The thing that you do need to have is attention to detail. So not all designers have attention to detail, and not all front-end devs have good attention to detail. But when you're working off of someone else's design as a front-end dev, so you didn't do the creative stuff, so you're not the designer, but you get a design, you need to make sure that you implement it the way they envision it. And sometimes that means obviously looking right down to the pixel level. You know, how much padding on each side of an element, where it is situated. Like, you can't just eyeball where you want to put an element if you're not the one who designed it. But then on the flip side, sometimes you get designs that aren't exactly consistent. Then it's up to you, I think. But what I would normally do is, you know, if we get consistent designs and then every now and then we get an inconsistent one, I'll send it back and say, do you want us to do this? To sort of eyeball these things, or would you like to sort of make sure that it's, you know, following a system? Because the design system, when you're working with larger applications or bigger companies, you got to follow a design system. First was just software development, mainly because just the problem solving day to day, the problem's always different. You know, even if you're on a project for a long time, there's a lot of different obstacles along the way, and there's never one clear way to sort of overcome them. It's always changing. So problem solving is a big thing for me. I love it. I love problem solving. I feel like it keeps me, I don't know, it keeps my mind active.
Solving the puzzles.
Yeah.
So that's the main thing.
That's the main one. And then I went into web development, specifically front-end development, because I have a passion for art and UI and UX design. So I've always had a passion. Yeah, so I started out at my previous company. It was a vehicle tracking company. I was the junior IT administrator when I started, just out of school. I wasn't studying at the time, and I knew I wanted to work in IT. I didn't quite know where. So I took that job, and then they kind of pushed me into studying a BSc, which I sort of narrowed down to computer science. So while I was there, I went from junior IT admin to just software developer. Wasn't a very large team, so I wasn't a junior. I was just kind of thrown in the deep end. And I was there for 9.5 years. Well, it's mainly just to sort of make the products that Mr. Price Group offer as accessible as possible to people online. You know, the crux of the Mr. Price Group's business is brick and mortar stores, which is walk in, pick an item, try it on, maybe pay for it. Us sort of just bringing that to the e-commerce space, and it was there before I joined, but you know, still developing onto it, just makes it more accessible for people who might not be able to go to stores, who might just find it easier to shop online. And sometimes, you know, just bringing, sort of tailoring their experience on the store to kind of just help them find what they're looking for. Using recommendation engines and user behavior tracking to just basically personalize the experience. And yeah, so it's mainly React.js, JavaScript, TypeScript, GraphQL, and then your normal web technologies like HTML, CSS, those kinds of things. Yeah. So I didn't study to specifically become a web developer. I just studied computer science to open the options up to anything in the computer science field. I've always wanted to be a developer. I wasn't sure if I was going to be back-end, middle layer, integrations, front-end. I kind of wanted to do it all, but then after 9 years of doing it all, I realized I want to specialize in one. And I've been trying to master that ever since. So I guess I studied my BSc in computer science part-time. It took me about 7.5 years because I was doing it part-time and I had some, obviously, working full-time, still trying to maintain a social life. And then studying was a bit taxing, so it took me a while to get it, but I did it. And then, yeah, over that time, I played with all different technology stacks. I built mobile apps on top of frameworks and languages that are no longer used. So I would never use them again, but I did it and I got to experience it. So that's one example of a few that I've done. So it kind of all led me towards this, and I'm just, I don't know, part of me feels like I wish I had realized I wanted to focus on front end a lot sooner, but part of me is like I probably wouldn't be the developer I am today if I didn't go through all of that stuff. I think when I started, it cost about anywhere between 1,200 to 1,600 Rand a module, and I did 36 modules, I think, but over 7 years though. So it's about, if you're doing it through correspondence, it's a lot cheaper. Granted, you still have to buy textbooks. Those can be a bit expensive, but if I had to estimate, I did 4 modules per semester, and each semester was 6 months. And so you're looking at about, let's say 6,000 Rand over 6 months is about 1,000 Rand a month. And then let's say if you have to buy textbooks for each, your most expensive textbook you'll get is about 1,000 Rand. The cheapest textbook you'll get maybe 400. This is just going off my experience. So if we say, let's just say worst case scenario, all the textbooks are 1,000 Rand, you're looking at about 2,000 Rand a month. Yeah.
So in total, maybe how much? Like 100,000?
Putting me on the spot here. I wouldn't say that much. I wouldn't say that much. I would say less, quite a bit less maybe.
If you decide to go for a degree. Okay.
Well, if you do a degree through correspondence, because you're not paying for lectures, you're not paying for a campus. There's no physical place you have to pay for, and so that you're paying for the facilities. Correspondence is much cheaper. Correspondence is UNISA, yeah. So correspondence means you work from anywhere. You do your work online, basically, from anywhere. You could be in the States and study through UNISA. Not quite sure how the exams work in that case, but I think you can do that. So going to an actual institute will be more expensive. Either one is not better than the other.
Yeah.
Just it will be more expensive.